Hello traders, this is Alex with the Stock Matrix program. I'm going to do an update here. This is Monday morning, March 17th. I was out for the weekend. Normally I try to post one Saturday, but anyway, it's Monday morning, about 6:13 prior to the open, a couple hours. So now again, we had the lunar eclipse come in, and that's one of my zones. So pretty important to me. Now again, if you look back on the charts on the last one, the previous one, it was pretty much lows on a lot of these stocks. So, and now this one kind of maybe it's lows again. I don't know, but could be highs depending on how you look at it. So anyway, it's important, right, between now and the next 2 weeks, because in 2 weeks we'll have the solar eclipse. This is the full moon, the high tide, the high atmospheric tides, and then we'll have the low tides, the lowest of the year, atmospheric and oceanic, on the solar eclipse. So, clam diggers, a delight. Anyway, we got this is my website. This is uh, the X account, CBOT Man 33, and we I just post all the trades out here. I also do some other stuff. I have a commodity matrix which I do for the commodities. Since I'm an ex commodity broker, I retired doing that for 40 years. So anyway, that's you can go look at that. But that's anyway, I do all kinds of things on there. But I post the trades. Now we didn't have any new trades on the stock matrix program. Um, we kind of continue to climb our equity. Again, we've closed out about $9,000 worth of losses, and we've hung on to about 19,000 or $28,000 worth of winners, giving us a net of 19,315. Now, again, we ain't out yet. The stops are ways off, so if it's a low in here, we're going to give a lot of that back, maybe. Right now, if it stays here for a couple weeks, then our stops will get pushed down. So that's always the hope. Again, the system don't care. It's not emotional. So we have liquidated some profits on there finally. The last one was Adobe, which was a loss. Lynn was a profit. You can see that. Just you can pause this, but anyway, I'm kind of just neutral. Everything. We did come off the lows. Thursday was kind of and Friday for some were kind of the lows on the stuff. So let's take a look at the trade sheet. And again, we had no new trades. So we've been in these trades now 49, 55, 42, 74 days on Tesla, 60 on ED. And we'll go through the charts a little bit quickly to kind of give you an idea. Now, if we got out right here, we got 40 grand. Not the option part, right, but the actual stocks. I have to keep track of that, 100 shares. Now, again, if we get stopped out, we have a negative, if everything got stopped out, right? So, but let's look at the main. Again, we have, oh, I forgot to mark the annuals. Hang on. Okay, sorry about that. I went ahead and marked them down, highlighted them. We have, several annuals. Of course, this includes over the weekend. It's Friday and Monday, right? So, and actually tomorrow. So there's a few. We are 90 degrees off the high in Tesla tomorrow. We're 900. Again, these are sets of 45s, GAN stuff. All this is kind of WD GAN. He used to look at the annuals. I keep track of them on the chart, which we'll see. And then here's all the off the lows. Basically, some of it's mostly COVID lows. Obviously, some are pre-COVID. So we've got some stuff coming in here. We are about 12 days prior to my solar eclipse, which is key to me for time-wise. Now, the price action tends to be on stocks is more of a lunar thing. On commodities, it tends to be more of a solar. Crude oil tends to be more of a lunar. Again, this is just my experience talking of doing this now for a long time, 4 decades. Let's see. Let's move on to the actual charts. All right, here's NVIDIA. This is my stock matrix chart. You can see we're still down. We closed on the high side of the range. The trend, short-term trend will turn long if we get above 126.80. Again, the short-term is based on 2 boxes above the range of the previous week. So anyway, the stops got moved to here, so the stop didn't change. So as you can see, even though we're profitable, and you'll notice this throughout when I go through them, the stops are still quite a bit high yet, right? Because I used 3 boxes of 3, right? So again, there's our 3. The stops are up here. Anyway, I won't mention that again, but that's just kind of how I do it. We're coming into 225 degrees. Other than that, off the highs, both these were set. So, pretty interesting, right? So again, I'm assuming that these will be highs as well, or potentially big time lows. Let's go to Meta. You can see that I drew this in. This is where the solar eclipse closed. If you go back in time, since the lows, these eclipses hit every one. the solar eclipse, not the lunar. That's in a couple weeks, right? So again, I got it marked in yellow, and now it missed it by a little bit, but it's a pretty good, I guess you call it a moving average, right? Now here's our stop way up here. So now we're not profitable yet on the stops. There's a few that are, but Meta is not. Here's the stops on Coke. We got down there, didn't quite, again, we turned the short-term trend down on the close. So this is now down officially, but the stop still, the long term is still up. Now we had an outside period, which I don't like. It's more neutral, and then we had another outside period. So again, this is typical. These outside periods, I don't care if it's an hourly chart or daily, to me are neutral. Now sometimes they're magnificently huge and that kind of thing, but on average they're usually a sideways action. Again, here's Google. You can see our stops are moving in. Now again, we also, just to add punch to the flavor, we got the next quarter moon here in between the two eclipses, which are important, right, is the spring equinox. I believe, I don't know when it comes in officially, I have to look, but March 21st sometime typically. So anyway, we got that coming in with the quarter moon in between the two eclipses. So this magnifies this time period a little more. Microsoft, again, you can see we are 90 degrees is this lunar eclipse off this high. So, and it was a low. So that makes me a little less bearish now. It's kind of completed that. Doesn't mean it can't go down to 180 or whatever, right? But again, typically from high to low, 90 degrees. That's what Gann always did, right? Looked at 90 degrees from the solar eclipse. That was his big thing, and I do the same. But this is 90 degrees off this high in the eclipse. I pay close attention to that. Now you can see the previous lunar eclipse is here, and it kind of just chopped around basically until it finally broke off here. But it definitely had a lower solar eclipse closes, right, from this one to this one, or lunar eclipse closes. So I also pay attention to that. We got the Amazon 45 days from that high, puts it into that in between, into the quarter moon in between the two eclipses. Stops are actually profitable now by a smidge. You got Apple. The stops are still at a loss. You can see what a slop it is. It's just now again, it held the 1-to-1 trend line. Again, 1 quarter moon over per 1 square 9 down, and it held that. So again, I use the square 9s for my pricing. Tesla on the stock matrix chart itself. Tesla, you can see it's been an ugly pig. I believe it's down 55% from high to low. We did have a close above the previous solar eclipse. So basically, right now, we're just at the solar eclipse, so we haven't gone anywhere. This was all noise. Now, again, the solar eclipse is still a couple weeks away, so fireworks still could happen, but that makes me a little neutral. We had a bear trap. If you've been following me, I love that bear trap. If you were itching, jonesing to buy Tesla on that break, that was a good area where it ran the stops and had no professional follow-through, right? So the public got stopped out, and the big boys bought it up. Lynn, you can see we're short. Had a pretty ugly day, but it did close, or moon period, but it did on the lunar eclipse. It actually closed up off of it a little bit, so a little less negative, but the trend is definitely down. We did make pretty good money on this one into the stop. So Lynn is kind of a hydrogen play. Logically, hate to be too bearish that, but again, the highs occurred, the lows occurred a little before the 90, and the highs off of that secondary high, I guess you call it, was on the 135 degrees and the lunar eclipse. So it makes sense a little bit. Now the previous lunar eclipse is right here. So basically we are a little weaker. Again, why do I mention that? Because it's important to me, right? The trend. If you're higher than the lunar eclipse, the trend from lunar to lunar is up. If like on this one, the trend was down slightly and maybe more sideways. But again, that's the direction in the last 6 months, right? Now this one was a high, pretty obvious so far, double top. Right on the previous lunar eclipse, slightly above it, right? So we're 135 degrees off of this other high on the lunar eclipse. Pretty tough nut to crack, I would think. Now again, ED is kind of a safe play. All the safe plays is the only trends I have up. Coke, and some of those might be down now, but Coke, ED, BK, PG, all those are the kind of more of the safe plays where people head into when they get scared of Netflix and Meta and Google. So, the FANG. So we got the nice little top there action. Let's go to Adobe. Again, made new lows on this stupid ass gap. Again, I don't understand how they can do that legally, this day and age, in the Pentium processing stage that we're in. How can they have these gaps? Here's another one here. Just crazy. Now we got stopped in and out below our stop. So that's why it looks a little funny. I tried to find the worst trade in that period. But we, again, just how it was. And that's how some of these are. I would have never put Adobe. I apologize, because I would have never put Adobe into this mix. I could, there's zillions to pick from. Why would I pick Adobe that gaps all the time? I should have changed it, but it takes too much to change this program now. So I'll leave it. That's part of the prop. We got IBM. You can see we're just kind of messing around. We had an inside down period after this action, and we closed on it again, right? So we have kind of a neutral, right? We have an outside event here, and kind of an inside outside, right? Because we didn't make a new high. Stops are still up there. I don't know what to make of that. This gap again was kind of odd. IBM don't have those kind of gaps too much, so I think IBM is the late bloomer to the AI, but they're one of the more solid companies, U.S. companies in particular. BK, again, one of the Bank of Magellan, New York Bank, it's kind of a safe play. Now you can see that we made a forecast. Now if you watch one of the previous videos, I talked about this lunar eclipse, this 1-to-1. Anyway, we forecasted it basically to close right there. Well, we did close one notch under it. So now again, we were up here when we did the video, but you can see that it works, right? Again, that's my whole point. That's why I mentioned that. Now I'm not trading on that, but again, some people like to be right and lose money. I'd rather make money and be wrong. Again, the system don't care about any of that crap, right? So, I mean, it's nice to be the man who called the high or called something in some stock. Again, that don't make you money, man. I'm telling you, just trade the simple line or something simple and stay at it, and you'll be profitable in the end. Again, another safe play, Procter & Gamble. You can see we had another punch high, 90 degrees over. So makes sense that if we have some low, it's going to be like this one, right? From high to low is 45. The next one, we'll put it in here, which is April 21st. So again, if it's a chopper, right, we probably go down and maybe poke this out, little bear trap, or maybe even this one. So that would be my guess, which again is sideways at best. Now JP Morgan is the diamond, Jamie Dimon. We got stopped here. Stops are way the hell up here right now. If it was my money tied into this thing personally, which I don't. Again, this is all fictitious, right? But I've been following it religiously and giving you these updates so that you can follow it and understand how important trading a systematic approach is. Anyway, if it was me and I had this much profit into this trade, I might be looking at some, maybe an out of the money call here, or maybe a couple weeks out, right? Don't spend a whole lot, but buy some calls. Because again, if we get stopped out and have to go long this and follow the system, that's going to be gnarly. That'll be like, oh God. Now again, more than likely it won't go up that fast, but again, you can see it wouldn't take much to move it back higher in a week or two. Now next week or next moon period, we'll get to move it here, and we still won't be profitable though. So until we can get it down here, we got stopped into this position here. Anyway, Coinbase, another ugly one, and you can see where timing came in a week early, but we closed pretty weak, a couple notches off the bottom. Here's the previous solar eclipse, right? Which again, we're coming into that in a couple weeks. So again, that would be an obvious target for me. And we had a bull trap. So, it's definitely possible that we could knock this down here and have some bear trap. Now that'd probably be a buy, right? Especially if it does it on some timing, especially on the solar eclipse. That'd be cool. I'd be actually taking that trade on my out of the money options. Again, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, 10 days, 2 weeks ago, I put out a video on how I trade out of the money options on the bull and bear traps. This would meet my candidate if there's timing. Cintas, again, we kind of went up, covered the previous solar, filled the gap, 62% back rally, and then we had a collapse. But I'm neutral. I'm thinking it's going to be a slow dig higher for a year. Now we could go down and make new lows, right? I mean, I'm not advocating. I'd be a buyer of that probably, but Cintas, I think this 20% dig down, it's going to take a year or a long time, maybe 8 months, maybe 15 months, whatever. It's going to take a long time to grind higher and finally punch a new high. Any market that has these kind of drops in that quick a period of time and doesn't fall apart and kind of holds, my gut or my experience tells me this is going to be a grinder to the upside. Let me switch gears. Okay, let's go through the daily charts, and I'll just go through them real quick and kind of notate anything that I see that we're coming into. This is NVIDIA, NVDA. You can see that we had this a few years back. This was a major low. Again, red is low, blues are highs. So 2020. Anyway, this annular came in, and we kind of took that out. So plus we took it out on the downtrend line I don't have drawn in. And this is the solar eclipse. So again, we're back to the solar, kind of trading now above it slightly. So I'm kind of more neutral this. NVIDIA is a pretty solid company, and you can see, but again, everybody's loaded up with NVIDIA and Apple, right? So it's definitely could be a grinder to the downside with these bigger chops. I have a hard time being a bull on these older companies unless it's a decent break. I just don't buy strength in these companies where everybody's loaded up. That's my experience talking to me again. Let's go to Meta. Again, you can see a nice sling down onto support. We kind of called that on our previous video when we had the short trade when I put it out. We're 17 days off the high, which again, I like. That's one of my timing. Now, again, when I use the calendar days, it's, uh, 45s. But when it's market days, I use, and when I'm looking at the market day count of a bar chart, 5 days in a week, it's 11, 17, 22, 33, 44, 55, 66. Those equal the Gann timing on your Gann wheel and so forth. But here's the solar eclipse. We didn't quite get down to that, but close enough. You don't have to do it, but again, we can see that the market is definitely a weak stick into here, and you can look back. This has happened before, so this isn't something new. A little further down than the previous break, so that's cautionary tale, right? You get something's different, but we did hit this uptrend line, which I believe is mathematical. No, it is not. Actually, it's close to a 1-to-1 of the. Oops. I don't want to get too complicated, but that's again 86.60 and 0.8660, right? So that's the slope. So you got a 1-to-1 of the slope from this actual low price, right? It's not a 1-to-1 trend line like one day up, one price over. It's the slope. Anyway, pretty important to kind of hit that. So this is definitely a support area of support too. So if you're itching to buy something, maybe buy some calls there. The system don't care about any of that, right? It's going to stay short until it gets knocked out and goes the other way. Coke, again, kind of a chopper, again, a safer play, but it did have a pretty ugly punch down. To me, that's kind of a bear trap, which I like, right, on the longer term trend. So if I did buy calls there, which I did not, but if I normally would have, I would be looking for 100% return. So if it cost me $300 to buy an out of the money call, I would be trying to get out for $600. Again, that's part of my video I put out a couple weeks ago. Anyway, pretty interesting double top market. So we got Google again, had a bunch of annulars coming in. All of them are pretty active. Now from here on out, I don't know what yet if these are highs or lows. I kept the one in place on both sides, but really all of these are unknown yet. So I could flip them around if we go up from here. I'll consider these support then. But again, a pretty ugly deal. You can see that from previous videos that we've talked about Google, running these over. This is this is the spot. So we hit our projections, right? When we did this video, when we're back up here, this is where I thought it could go. So we've already matched that, but price is ahead of time. So that means we could go up and down and trade sideways, and get the time in place. Then that'll be a little more interesting to me. Here's Microsoft, and you can see we're below the solar. So a little negative, but again, if we rally, in the next 10 days or so, I'd be looking for it back to this solar. Again, if we close come March 29th to 28th, 28th is Friday, yeah, so 28th Friday, that's right on the solar eclipse. This would be a flat market, which basically it is. So, we haven't gone anywhere since the solar eclipse, or actually before that. Here's Amazon. Again, a pretty ugly event. Now, again, these, you can't claim yet that they're lows on the annuals. They're on both sides. I just didn't take the time to put it in there. We do have some timing in here from the low. So Apple, kind of an ABC corrective mode. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. It might be a 5. That's the problem with Elliott wave stuff, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it turned into a Z wave. What? Anyway, this we did have an annular from a few years back. So again, the closer it is, the more I respect it. And again, you can see we had the high here and then the low here in 2022. Let's just go back and look. Here it is. So there's the high, there's the low. So again, you can see that a couple years ago, this was a fairly active market. And again, it did things to catch it on my annual page. And again, there's why. So now I'll have to update these, but I'm going to, this from December will be an annular, right? So anyway, for the next year when we get to it. Let's move on. Here's Tesla. Again, a pretty ugly 55% decline off the highs. Now, on most markets, that'd be odd or incredible. Not so much in Tesla. Pretty obviously, it's done it before. The last time we had a crunch, we went down 75%. which was the buy of the century, right? Which again, I posted to give you, 75%, but to do it in terms the opposite way, that's almost 300%, 2.83 times, right? So again, looking at it from the up and down is totally two different worlds. So 55% is pretty gnarly. Back to the support of the solar eclipse. So again, we really haven't gone anywhere. Let's look at Lin. Again, you can see the daily charts is kind of chopping. ED, again, a safe play. It did poke a new high. One of the markets that actually made a new high in the moon period of the lunar eclipse. So pretty interesting. Let me see. Yeah. And here's the solar eclipse. So again, we're back to where it was a year or half a year ago. Here's Adobe. Again, a piece of crap gapper. Here is IBM, kind of a pretty strong market. Had this weird ass gap because their spreadsheets are broke and don't know how to use a pencil and paper and math. But anyway, it just chaps me. They have gaps in this day and age. BK, again, one of the again safer plays that made new highs, and then it had a correction here. So I'm guessing that, let's say Nvidia, the top dog starts selling off again. These safer plays will probably be bought up. You can see that we're kind of in the same time frame as this previous break. Procter & Gamble, another safe play. Again, you can notice I have about 4, 5, 6 safe plays in my systematic approach on the 17 select stocks I did, and I also have some aggressive ones, so kind of balances it out. And it's the only reason why we have calls on with some of these safer ones. Otherwise, I'd have all puts, which makes me a little nervous when I have all of everything. Again, here's JPM, did make a new low. Bull Trap City, I did buy this as a trade and got out pretty quickly. The next day here on Friday, I got out and doubled my, again, when I'm picking the bottom, opposite of the long-term trend, I do 50%. So if I buy it for 500, I try to get out for $7.50 or make a total of 250. Now this one, I'm in the direction of the trend in my opinion. So this is 100%. So I paid 300, got out for 600. Anyway, Coinbase, again, a 50% drop right on the button, 49.4. So pretty interesting, right? 50% break, which is a GAN thing. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it is a drop, needless to say. Now we had from 2 years ago, and again, I would not consider this a complete, I don't know yet, right? So if it goes up, I'll switch this and put it at the bottom. But anyway, we did have activity there, and you can see we had a few others in here. Now Coinbase is so new that there's no annuals, and that's why it's hard for me as a GAN guy to even trade Coinbase because there's really no data there. Now here's Cintas again, back to the solar, punched it out, and I believe that was 62%, filled the gap, uncovered close, down we went. And again, we kind of talked about this area of support, and we were up here. So I don't know, I'm more neutral. Cintas, I think it's going to be a grinder to the upside. I will buy new lows as part of that. And again, why? Because we had bull trap highs. For every action, there's an equal but opposite reaction. I'd buy new lows. Here's the S&P, the E-mini S&P chart for you futures traders. Here is the Dow, the mini Dow chart. And again, and here is the QQQ for you stock NASDAQ guys. We did have that trap up here that I talked about. And this trap here that I thought it would probably hold at did not hold. So I'm a little concerned about the QQQ and the NASDAQ. So anyway, let's, I want to do one other look here. I want to pull up, hang on. Okay, I pulled up the SPY, SPY. It's kind of the S&P version of the QQQ because I haven't looked at it personally. I wanted to see it. So you can see we've had an inclining new highs and then kapoof, busted the uptrend line. These bull traps faded each one, and this trap did not work. So again, I just wanted to look at it because it's always a little different. Let's just see what this where this projects to. I'll get a darker line there. Run it off there. So price, we've already established that, and time, it's much quicker. Let's go back and see what this one is. The bear of the COVID time frame. Again, I'm just doing this for the first time, so bear with me. Let's change colors. Green would be great. So that projects, if it's a bear market, which this was, this, again, not percentage, right, but just time and price, points break is equal, right? That projects at around 480, and that low should come in around December 1st. So again, it has kind of a similar shape to this, by the way, on the speed here. So again, but you can see, looking at it, even in the COVID time, we had traps all the way, At least this one. So we had, I call it a drowning man high. When you're drowning, you have one last gasp to try to get air, and then you give up and you poof go down. So we had several of these drowning man events, and then finally the low. So anyway, interesting. Okay, one last chart I'm going to bring up is Bitcoin. Again, you can see we had the trap up here that I've been talking about. Again, it's kind of on support, right? Here's the previous solar eclipse. So we're definitely positive there. The lunar eclipse was, in here, so we're definitely a higher lunar eclipse close than the previous. But it's a pretty good correction. Now, a lot of people getting all wound up. I don't know what they expect thing not to break. I mean, come on, you want things to move. Pulling up the percent. Yeah, we're about 30% off the high. That's not terrible. Um, Tesla had a 55% break. So, but it just does in my view, these markets are different than like a stock. We poke up and then it's a long drawn out. But we don't have long-term bear markets. Over a year is that's a buy of the century. Here we are trading sideways, but then it goes up and has a pretty good push, makes new high, and then it eases off for 6 months. We go up, make new high, and then we ease off for 6 months. So again, it's hard for me when I don't have enough data, and that's the problem with some of these. Let me see how much I actually got.
Refresh finished. Refresh finished.
I just don't have the data here on this, how I put up the symbol. But again, it trades different than almost trades like more like Nvidia, or something. It just needs it's its own world, right? When you get these bull markets, you got to assume if you're long term, it doesn't matter to you, right? If you're going to hang in there for 10 years, 20 years, you don't care about these 6 months breaks. But if you're shy of funds like I am all the time, you know that, and you just wait. You get out. And if you miss it, you miss it. There's a zillion things to trade. Okay, I beat the dead horse here. I thank you for listening, and I hope you guys all have a great trading rest of your week.